You can call me Ben the Gentleman. Let's rock. Hey guys, welcome to Gentleman's Reaction, where at the end of every week I give you guys some reactions and thoughts from a gentleman's perspective, some things you guys can think about or consider. Today we're talking about rejection, and rejection is not easy. It's not easy to be rejected or to feel that maybe you're not good enough or maybe you didn't make the grade. And we're going to look at a video from Psychacks, and there's a link to this video below in the description. So if you guys want to watch it for yourself, please go there. And I do enjoy this channel as well. But I want to give you guys my perspective on this video. I think it's important to deal with rejection the right way. And for some people, when they get rejected, they feel like it's the end of the world, or maybe they're not good enough, or they did something wrong. But rejection is a part of life, and it's something that you have to learn from. And if you have the right attitude, I think it can also be a beneficial thing to your life. Of course, we can't control how people reject us, but we can control how we deal with rejection and how we evolve from that. So let's have a look. Let's look at this video, and I'll give you some of my perspectives on it as well. Let's see.
I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psychacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is the truth about rejection. We're all going to experience rejection over the course of our lives. In fact, because the universe lives closed, which is to say that the default answer to any question in life is no, we are going to experience vastly more rejection than acceptance in any domain of our life, personal or professional. So the sooner that we can understand the truth about rejection, the faster we can disabuse ourselves of some of the illusions that people maintain about this experience that really obstruct their overall growth.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that understanding rejection and understanding how rejection works and why rejection is kind of an important or needed thing in our lives can make us better people to some degree. And I think the key word there is understand. And some people, they can't. But let's go into this a little bit more. By the way, this guy, he is rocking his 4 degrees on here, and he's got his hair laid. I do enjoy, it's got a little bit of Riz going on there, a little bit of psychologist Riz. I do enjoy that. But let's go on. Yeah, let's have a little bit of, listen, let me maximize this a little bit more. Yeah, here we go.
So there are 3 illusions about rejection that I want to dispel in today's episode. I call them the 3 Ps. This is the belief that rejection is painful, personal, and permanent. Painful, personal, and permanent, the 3 Ps.
The 3 Ps, painful, personal, and permanent. I think that there's something to this, a lot more that we can look into. And as he explains them, I'm also going to give you kind of the gentleman's idea or thought pattern when it comes to this.
Let's work through each one individually. The first illusion about rejection is that it's painful. Rejection does not have to be painful. What I'd like you to consider is that rejection is just information. Yes is information, no is information. And as I mentioned in the fundamental game of human relationships, in the game of please no, the way someone says no contains a clue, contains information with respect to how to potentially get them to say yes. The more that you can see no, the rejection, as just a piece of binary data, a 0 versus a 1, and the more that you can potentially evaluate the quality of that data to your own advantage, the more you can take the emotional sting out of rejection. Okay.
I agree with him wholeheartedly. It does, for me, in my opinion, I don't think rejection has to be painful for any reason. And there are 2 things I want to explain about this from a gentleman's perspective. The first thing is that if you are rejected, it may not be sometimes that the rejection is necessarily bad luck. It might be you dodging a bullet. I'm sure everyone has had that experience in their life where they were rejected by something or someone, could be a job, and then later they heard nightmare stories or bad things about that experience. And they say, thank goodness I didn't do that. Thank goodness I didn't stay with that person, or thank goodness I didn't take that job. And another reason why it doesn't have to be painful is because, well, if you're improving yourself mentally, physically, okay, you're taking care of yourself at the gym, psychologically, you're taking care of your mind, financially, you're working hard, already that's pretty phenomenal. A lot of people nowadays, they're not addressing themselves in a gentlemanly or a gentlewomanly fashion. They are letting themselves go. And, when you are rejected and you know that your laziness or your insufficient hard work or whatever is to blame, it's like, hey, I have somewhere I can improve. But if you're covering all your bases and you're doing everything the way they should be done and you're humble about them, then it's really their loss, right? If someone says, hey, I want to invest $1 million in your business, and you say, oh, I don't care about that. I mean, are they really losing anything, or are you losing something, So I don't really think of rejection, as he said, as a painful thing. I think it's something where you learn, and sometimes the wrong people reject you, and that's a good thing. And sometimes the right people reject you, and it's a learning experience. You learn and you get better. And if you're already, to that level, then perhaps they're the ones who are missing out.
Okay. The second is that it's personal. In the vast majority of cases, it's just not. Maybe you try to pick up someone at a bar and they turn you down, or you send out a resume to a potential employer, they never get back to you. Is this really a personal rejection? I mean, in the first case, the person who's turning you down has spent all of 60 seconds in your presence. It's not so much that they don't know who you are, they can't know who you are. They have not had anything close to sufficient time to do any kind of due diligence with respect to your suitability. So they're really rejecting some idea of who you are. Now, to be fair, there could be some aspects to your appearance or your words or your tone that is contributing to that idea.
And I think that's a really important point. We tend to project an image of ourselves to others. And for some people, deep down in their heart, they might be really, really good people, but because of the way they carry themselves, they come across in a negative fashion. So people, they tend to stay away or look at these people negative or reject them. And then there's the other side of the coin, where you might have a person, they are very charismatic. They know how to say all the right words. They're very good looking. They're very successful, but they might be self-centered. They might, on the most extreme end, be a sociopathic or narcissistic person, but they can cover that up with a mask. And people might know that person deeper later and realize, I made a big mistake. So what he's saying is that don't take people's rejection personally, but think more about the image you are projecting. If you are a decent person and you are following the gentleman's lifestyle, the gentlewoman's lifestyle, and you want to level up your charisma, you want to make more business friends or engage with people more, definitely thinking about the way you project yourself onto others, the way you project your image onto others can help you a lot. Because a lot of times people, they get doors closed on their faces simply because they fail to project the right image in front of others. And sometimes you do the right image. Sometimes you project the right image. You come across in a charming, humorous, friendly, supportive way, and people just may not be into that, and that's okay. Because again, that's not your loss. That's theirs.
But ultimately, they aren't rejecting you because they don't know who you are. Same thing with the employer. They're rejecting a resume, a piece of paper. And again, maybe there are some things about the presentation of that document that you could improve, but there's nothing personal about rejecting a piece of paper. In the vast majority of cases, the The people doing the rejecting don't know you well enough to actually reject you.
Exactly. And one of the things that I was learning when I was studying etiquette and how I portray myself as a person is that people, they make judgments about a person really fast, and it's unfair. I've learned to kind of deconstruct this and try to move away from this myself, because there's a lot of great people I met who outwardly on the surface, when you first meet them, may not, give you the best sort of vibes. And I don't mean like you feel like they're a bad person, but you might be like, I don't know about this person, but they ended up sort of being really nice people. So one thing is to learn how to communicate with your body language and the way you act, who you really are. And it's not easy for people to get to know that. And sometimes people make mistakes. Sometimes because of experience, prejudice, racism, discrimination, bad experience, and whatever. People can form an image of someone that they've never met. And that's unfair. But if you are rejected in that case, I think it's very important to just remind yourself, it isn't that personal because they don't really know you. So how can you, in a short period of time, project an image that is your true self, that is positive, that can get people to appreciate you more? I think in the future, I would like to do more of discussion on this, the way we project our image as a gentleman, as someone who is competent. That is extremely important.
So it can't possibly be personal. All right, and the third P is that it's permanent. And this is kind of due to the first P. The painful emotional experience can trigger a catastrophic thought cascade. And before you know it, you're thinking that you're never going to get a job, you're going to die alone, or that you're going to be a loser your entire life. And that's just not true. That's the emotional mind talking. Now, it's almost certainly true that you will need to experience a great deal of rejection before you...
What he's saying is absolutely right. For a lot of people who have tough skin, who have thick skin, they are not really afraid of rejection. I'm not really worried if someone rejects me, whether it's a female, a love interest, whether it's a job or whatever, because I know what I know that my character, what I have to offer, and my humility will hopefully communicate the idea that I can provide value to someone and I want to see others succeed. However, sometimes I don't always get it right. And for me, it's always a learning curve. And if you are rejected, it's okay, because as he said, it is not permanent. And you have to think about it. Do you want someone to accept you, but they don't like you, they don't want to be around you for who you really are? Or do you want someone who will accept you, like you, because you are sincere, honest about the kind of person you are, and they like that person, and they're willing to work together with you? And sometimes also seeing is believing. I think that people, they tend to follow patterns, and when people see, hey, this guy, he's liked by many people, he always gets the job done, he has a nice sort of resume that he's built up over the years, he has a good set of friends, he's built up over time a pattern to show that he's been successful as a friend, as a brother, as someone to be trustworthy. I think over time people will start to say, maybe I made a mistake on this person. Maybe I judged this person the wrong way. So it is important to understand that rejection is not permanent. And if you are rejected, again, learn and improve, and don't take it so personally. It's okay. You're going to get that love interest. You're going to get that job. Things are going to get better for you, and it just happens. That's life,
You find a quality relationship, or before you find a high value job. However, every rejection on some level just brings you closer to that eventual acceptance. It's like that Edison quote, I didn't fail. I just found 10,000 ways that won't work. So rejection is not painful, it's not personal, and it's not permanent. And if you can dispel these three illusions and approach rejection as a piece of information capable of guiding you toward your eventual acceptance, you will have a much easier time in life. What do you think? Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for the algorithm. And if you'd like to schedule a consultation, you can reach me at psychackspodcast@gmail.com.
I really enjoyed this video, and again, I want to add something just from a gentleman's perspective. The most important thing about being a gentleman is emotional control. You don't just get angry or get extremely sad or emotionally burst out. That doesn't mean that you can't have emotion. You're not a robot, but you're not trying to suppress. You're trying to understand. And when you understand things, you can categorize things better. You can understand that there's really no need for excessive anger, dirty words, hatred, shouting, because perhaps things did not work out a certain way. Maybe the reason why those things didn't work out is not because you're a loser or you suck or you're not smart. Maybe they didn't work out because perhaps there's something more for you to learn. If you look at many successful people, and I'm not talking about, people who cheated or gamed the system, or people who became successful by, being Nepo babies or hurting the society or whatever. I'm talking about people that started from the bottom and worked their way up with clean hands, honestly and sincerely. A lot of times they faced rejection. I don't know a single successful person who didn't face a lot of rejection. And one thing that he said that really resonates with me is the idea of when you are rejected, it brings you one step closer to your dream, to your goal. Doesn't matter if you're a boxer, doesn't matter if you're an actor, doesn't matter if you're doing, investment. Every single rejection is a learning lesson. And it's important for us as people to understand humility. And one of the tenets of being a gentleman is humility, being humble and gracious in loss, and being humble and gracious in success. And if you are a kind of person who can understand the importance of humility and how to be grateful and how to be thankful, you'll start to develop this kind of mindset where you'll look at failure as something to be happy about. And like I said, sometimes that rejection could be you dodging a bullet. Trust me, there are some times where I thought I was rejected and I was down and out, and I look a few years later and I said, thank God I was rejected in that situation. And well, guys, thank you guys so much for your time. It's getting a little bit late here, so I'm about to call it. If you do enjoy Gentleman's Reaction, I do it at the end of every week, and I try to look at different videos and give you guys a gentleman's perspective on that. And at the same time, if you are interested in sending me some videos to react to, my email is thephatgentleman, THEPHAT, gentleman@gmail.com. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Send me some videos to react to. I'll definitely give you my perspective as a gentleman on that. Well, all the best to you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Take care, guys.